Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina Rasulillahi wa alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. Chapter number 9 and 10 kind of go hand in hand, and it's the chapter on Khawf and Raja. And so he begins by quoting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, where he says, وَلَا تُفْسِدُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ بَعْدِ إِصْلَاحِهَا. Do not cause corruption upon the earth after its reformation. وَدُعُوهُ خَوْفًا وَطَمَعًا. And invoke Allah in fear and aspiration. What's interesting is that this concept of cultivating fear and cultivating inspiration or hope within ourselves oftentimes is seen within the modern paradigm as something that is counterintuitive, right? You don't want to be acting on fear. But at the same time, when we look at the way in which Islam comes to balance things, it shows us that no, oftentimes human beings may need fear in order to get them going, initially speaking, and there may be times in their life where that actually is the type of motivation that gets them to do what they need to be doing. And at other times in their life, that's not what they need. They need hope, right? And so, as Muslims, we are taught to seek a balance between these two. We're taught to seek to try and understand when it is in our lives that we need to be driven by fear, in a sense, to get us to do those things that are ultimately pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and when it is that we need to be driven by hope. He talks about the levels of fear and the levels of hope. I'll try to talk a little bit about this. The first thing that he says is that the levels of fear are three. He says the first is the weak level, and that is a notion in the heart of no inward or outward effect. So you have fear in a sense because you know the ultimate end, but it's not enacting within you any type of response. And so he says here that its existence is just like its absence. The second one is a strong type of fear, where it wakes the servant up from heedlessness, from ghafla, and it propels you towards setting things straight. And then lastly, he says, is the increasingly strong type of fear, where it reaches a type of despair and a hopelessness. Yeah? And he says that this is something that ultimately is of no use, and it's not even permissible, right, for us to bring ourselves to that place. And so he says, stick to the strong fear. Ultimately, that fear that is getting you to do that which is good for you. Now, he talks about the levels of hope, and he says that they also are three. So there's hope for the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, using an apparent means to bring it about through obedience and abandoning disobedience. And he says that this hope is really a praiseworthy hope. Hope that's accompanied by negligence and disobedience, and this is delusion, as the Shaykh says. And lastly, hope that increases in strength until reaching false hope. And this is, as he says, is unlawful. So similar to the levels of fear, you see that the first one, right, in relationship to this, hope for the mercy of Allah while using an apparent means to bring it about through obedience and abandoning disobedience, is that which all of us should be striving for. It's that kind of hope that ultimately gets us to do that which is pleasing to Allah, not the one that misleads us to thinking that we're okay, we don't need to actually be doing the things that we know we should be doing. These two emotions are extremely strong emotions, and it's for that reason that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, use them to come to me. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to use these emotions in this month in the best of ways, ultimately to come to Him and balance them properly bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. Jazakumullahu kullu khair. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.